This is not a productivity problem. It is not a strategy problem. This isn't even a procrastination problem. This is your inner critic. Here's the thing about your inner critic. It doesn't show up and say, I'm scared, don't do this, you might fail. No, your inner critic is far smarter than that. It shows up as your standards, your high standards, as your thoroughness, as your detail oriented nature, as the part of you that just wants to get it right before you move on. And welcome to this episode of She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and today we're going to talk about the inner critic. Let me describe this to you. Let's see if this sounds familiar. You've been meaning to put something out there. Maybe it's a new offer, a program, send an email to some people you know, posting on social media, something. You've been meaning to do it. And you keep working on it, refining it, tweaking, fine-tuning. And then you start to second guess yourself. Maybe I should change my niche. Maybe my offer isn't quite right yet. You think, listen, once I figure this out, once I get this one thing nailed, everything is going to be ready and it's going to be going good. But it never quite gets there. Or you look at what you've actually put out in the world last week, last month, and it's less than you think. You've been busy, really busy with lots of thinking and doing. But the actual output, the invitations, the posts, the emails, the things you sent, those offers you've made, there's not as many as the busyness would suggest. This is not a productivity problem. It is not a strategy problem. This isn't even a procrastination problem. This is your inner critic, and it's probably been running your business for a while. Here's the thing about your inner critic. It doesn't show up and say, I'm scared, don't do this, you might fail. No, your inner critic is far smarter than that. It shows up as your standards, your high standards, as your thoroughness, as your detail-oriented nature, as the part of you that just wants to get it right before you move on. It says, maybe your niche isn't clear enough. Or, I think that offer could use a little bit more fine-tuning. You tell yourself, okay, once I finish that training, then I'm going to be all ready. And it sounds completely reasonable because there is a logic underneath it. If you never put it out there, no one can judge it. No one can say no to you. No one can find it wanting. You're safe. You're busy. You're spinning. You're doing the work, but you're safe. One of the people that I follow is Brad Yates. He is an EFT guy and he has an amazing YouTube channel. You should check him out. And he says this sentence has stuck with me. Self-sabotage is misguided self-love. Consider that every time the inner critic tries to keep you stuck and safe. Remember that the inner critic isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you. It's got one job. It's going to keep you from being rejected, from being seen, to be found wanting, from putting yourself out there, or from hearing no. And it is really good at doing its job. The problem is the cost. Now, I'm going to share with you how my inner critic talks to me. Not the polished version, but the real one. It sounds something like this. Come on, get with the program. I can't believe this is taking you so long. And sometimes when it really is going, it's like, you are a loser. Nobody wants this. Why even bother? That's the voice. And it's running underneath all the reworking and refining and not quite delivering that you do. I know you have your own version of this. Maybe it sounds different. Maybe it's quieter or louder or meaner. But I'd be surprised if there wasn't something in there that sounds a little bit like what I just shared with you. And here's what I want you to notice. When that voice is chirping on and on, you don't even hear it. You don't hear it as the inner critic. You hear it as the truth. You hear it as a realistic assessment of your situation, just like you're being honest with yourself. And that is part of the game. As long as you can't see it, the inner critic can drive your life. I worked with someone who had a perfectly good niche, procrastination coaching. Clear, specific, a real problem that people want help with. And she kept second guessing it. She'd go back to the drawing board. She'd research it again. She'd look at other niches. Then she'd talk herself out of changing. And then she'd start over again. Now, from the outside, you think, gosh, that sounds like indecision. Like, why couldn't she just make up her mind? But here's what was really going on in that loop, in the going back and the reconsidering, the not being sure. She never had to make an offer or invite someone to be her client because the niche wasn't finalized, because it wasn't ready. Because once they figured out that one thing, then she could go on, but she hadn't figured it out yet. So she didn't have to make an offer, right? That inner critic had found the perfect hiding place. It wasn't saying, I'm scared to put this out there. It was saying, come on, you're a professional, be thorough, get it right, get everything in place. You're not ready yet. And so she stayed safe and she stayed stuck. When someone finally sees it, like when you see what your inner critic is doing, something shifts really quickly. It's like there's a light that turns on in your head and you start to see it everywhere. You're thinking, oh no, there it is. And there it is too. Oh my gosh, that's it also. They start seeing it in all the reworking and the procrastination, the times that you've had to rewrite that email 4 times, almost instant clarity. And then this is important. Some people turn around and criticize themselves for having an inner critic, like they should have caught it sooner. Like having an inner critic means there's something wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. You're human. When their inner critic does a mind game like that, can you imagine your inner critic is criticizing you for having an inner critic. Boy, that is a vicious little cycle. So let me tell you this clearly. Having an inner critic doesn't mean you're broken or weak or behind. It means you're human. Every single person I've ever worked with has one. Every single one. The people who look like they've got it all together, those ones, they look like they're all confident, they've got it all figured out. They've got one too. The goal is not to become somebody who doesn't have an inner critic. The goal is to see it. So here's what we do with clients when that inner critic shows up. Give it a name. Not because it's cute, but because naming it does something important. It separates the voice of the inner critic from who you are. Now it's not you, it's a voice. And a voice can be noticed and named and talked to. One of my clients named her inner critic Myrtle. So when the inner critic pipes up, when that second guessing starts, when the procrastination loop kicks in, instead of getting pulled into it, she could just say, oh, that's just Myrtle. And then here's the part that is surprising. You don't have to fight Myrtle. We don't have to tell her to be quiet or go away. Comfort her because Myrtle is showing up because she's scared. That's the whole thing. Myrtle is not mean. She's terrified of what's going to happen. And the way to work with a scared part of yourself is not to fight it, but to reassure it, to comfort it. It sounds like this, Myrtle, it's okay. I got you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm going to make sure that you're safe. And then you can do the thing anyway, that one thing you've been avoiding. Not because Myrtle has gotten quiet. She might still be talking, but now you can hear her and still move on. Because you know what she is, and you know she's not the truth. She's a protection response. And you can thank her for her kind idea of keeping you safe, and you can keep going. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. The reworking, the procrastination, that niche you keep second guessing or the offer you keep wanting to refine, look underneath it, not at the strategy, under the strategy. There's always a scared voice under there doing its job, trying to keep you safe and costing you exactly what it's trying to protect you from becoming. You don't have to silence it. You just have to see it. Name it, know it for what it is, and maybe introduce it to Myrtle. That's the beginning of actually making progress. Now, if this episode landed for you today and you recognize you've got your own version of Myrtle, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'll put a link in the episode description. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.